Hello, 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 everyone. Once again, my name is Triple P, TRIPPLE P, aka Pimp, Prophet, and Priest. And today we have. Hello, 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 everyone. Once again, my name is Triple P, TRIPPLE P, aka Prophet and Priest. And as usual, we have another very, very powerful live stream for you guys tonight. I cannot stress the importance of this live stream being watched until the very end because you're going to learn something very, very powerful in reference to why do we keep attracting the same people. Have you ever wondered why the same people seem to be always showing up all the time in our lives, no matter where we go, no matter what we do? The same type of person with the same type of characteristics always come into our lives. Our friends seem to put off the same energy. Our relationships, we seem to attract the same type of people. On today's video, we're going to go deep, 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 very deep into this subject matter in reference to why do we attract the same people, and it's going to give you a much better understanding of what can you do about it, how can you change the situation, and if it is something that you could actually work on to change immediately or over a period of time. Basically, you will get the answers in this live stream. So again, I cannot stress the importance of you guys sticking around until the very end. And for those who are in the stream, who are watching wherever you may be, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're about to start. However, before we start, I would like to make a very brief few announcements. That way, for those who are late to the stream, who are just coming to the stream, who may be behind, I will be giving you guys an opportunity to join the stream as well. So, but before we begin, just a few very brief announcements. I think there has been one or two changes. Yes, there has been one or two changes. As usual, you guys could find me on these social media platforms right here. You could simply Google Triple P uh, Triple P Priest. Sorry, you could Google Triple P. I'm sorry, Triple P, and also you could either Google Seven Seas Astrology Prophetics, and you will something will definitely pop up. Or even if Triple P doesn't work, try Triple P, the original, because we are on multiple platforms. And as usual, we are going live every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. That is the goal. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. We will be live streaming on these platforms, the previous platforms. Here, that is the ultimate goal. Times, if we may be having technical difficulties, and maybe sometimes we may be slightly behind, but most of the time we are on track. So, with that being said, again, you could find us live on these particular platforms here every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. And I cannot stress this enough. The content will be for adults, uh, conversations, adult matters, conversations, references, marriage, dating, affairs, things of that sort. Basically, adult information will be shared. So I highly recommend 18 and over, and if not, at least close to 18, at least at voice or at least or at best adult supervision. So that is what we have for our updates. Nothing much has changed. This video again, very, very powerful. I cannot stress it enough. Why you keep attracting the same people, the hidden truth. That is the title of this video. And this is actually a law, the law of attraction. We're going to be talking about why the same people seem to be appearing in our lives, because this is all based on energy. Your energy equals your partner. That is what the thumbnail says. Energy equals your partner. And so, therefore, we're going to talk a lot about that energy, how that energy is actually translated into bringing the people into our lives that we may not necessarily want, but that is what today's video is going to be all about today. We're going to look into that right now very, very briefly. Very briefly, we're going to go over that and what can we do about it? How can we maybe change this and maybe start to bring some more people in our lives who may be more positive and maybe more conducive to our growth as well. So without further ado, I'm going to get the video started because again, like I said, I want to say once again, thank you, thank you, thank you for those of you guys who are on or are in the stream, watching the stream, whichever platform you may be on. Thank you. Hopefully you guys get something out of the deal and maybe again will start to attract the people in your life you want to attract versus the people that you do not want to as well.
Oh. Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Triple P, TRIPPLE.P, and I am your astrology pimp, your astrology prophet, and your astrology priest. And today's Seven Seals Astrology Prophetics video topic will be You Attract Who You Are. So the reason I'm creating this video is because uh, as a spiritual advisor and astrologer, I tend to get a lot of people asking me why do they basically attract the same people over and over their lives. They seem to, no matter where they go, they could go to a different country and they seem to attract the same people, you know. And I try to explain to these individuals, some put very easy, however, some individuals do not. What I try to tell these individuals is that they go wherever they go. So wherever you go, you carry yourself with you. And as usual, most of us by now should know all of these videos are going to be related to not knowing yourself. I mean, your true self, not the false self. I'm talking about the pure self, the isness, the I-ness, the amness that you truly are, the pure awareness, pure consciousness that you are, your true nature. However, because most individuals do not know who they are, they tend to identify themselves with the objective reality, their looks, their career, and things of that sort, their finances, and things of that sort. They tend to think that that is who they are. So throughout life, they go wherever they go, they are there. And because they don't know who they are, they tend to carry that person with them as well. They carry that person with them on the job. They carry that person with them in relationships. They carry that person with them in friendships as well. So what I try to explain to these individuals is that we are like somewhat, the best analogy I could think of is that we are like radio station antennas. We give off signals, just like a radio station. A radio station gives off signals, and we pick up as receivers at home or wherever we may be in our car, our players or whatever. They are like receivers, and they pick up the signal from the radio station. However, you have to tune into that station to actually pick up the channel. So
So the very first thing I would like to go over very briefly, because that is something that I don't think should be overlooked. The fact remains that most people believe that the people is coming from somewhere outside of them. They believe that the people that are surrounding them, the circumstances, the situations, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the relationships, or individuals that's showing up from out of nowhere just and does not have any correlation to who they are. And so the problem really, first and foremost, we must understand is that, like I said again, you are with you all of the time. That is why the challenges of finding different people does not change, because wherever you go, you are there. And therefore, because you are there, just like the radio, like I'm talking about right now, sending the signal out and receiving the signal, wherever you go, you are sending signals, and individuals are like receivers as well, receiving those signals, and so therefore you are automatically attracting again the same type of people on that same frequency as well. So there's no escaping you. It is not the environments that you enter, it's not the people that you are surrounded by. Yes, no matter where you go, you're going to find people who are not maybe on your wavelength, but however, at the same time, predominantly their environment and so forth is also a reflection of who you are internally. So we must keep that in mind. Wherever you go, you're going to attract who you are.
If we are like radio stations transmitting signals 24 hours, 7 days a week, and we are not aware that because we are sending out these signals, individuals in the world, they are also like receivers and transmitters. Also, they too are sending signals out to the world, and people are seeing them and becoming attracted to them or repelled by them based on the frequency that they are sending out. So these individuals, again, because they are not aware of who they are, what they tend to do is they tend to just go out and into the world, and they are sending signals out without being aware that they are doing so. So when the individuals come into their lives, the individuals are meeting the frequency that they are sending out. So, for example, if that's again everything, this whole topic again, as usual, is going to be knowing thyself. And the problem when you don't know yourself, this is going to be some of the problems you're going to have. You're going to attract individuals that may be not so conducive uh, or auspicious to your growth, if I may say. Uh, and so, again, so we are sending out signals every minute, every second, and individuals are tuning into those signals. So if you don't have any self-love, you don't love yourself, you don't really value yourself, you don't value your time, things of that sort, you will 99.9 you will attract individuals who do not love you as well. You will attract individuals who will take advantage of your time, and they will treat you in a certain manner because deep down inside you are transmitting the signals out into the universe, into the world, that you are a person that does not have any self-love. And so most likely you're going to attract somebody too as well who do not have self-love as well. So we tend to, again, without this understanding that we attract what we are rather than attract what we want, we think that we are attracting what we want, but that is not the case. We are attracting who we are. So that is why, again, it is most important that we know who we are and come to some self-acceptance and so forth, and self-value for ourselves, because only then we will attract the right people. So these individuals, and again, after they understand what I'm saying, they understand that no matter where they go, they are there always. And because wherever they go, they bring themselves with them, they attract the individuals who may be like them as well. So, for example, I remember, let's say, for example, you're looking for love, and most of us are always searching for something, always wanting something.
Let me just go back very briefly, and because that was also very, very powerful as well. Again, like I said, we don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. So if you're a person and you have self hatred for yourself, you don't have any self love, you don't have self confidence, you don't have high self esteem, you have very low uh, drive, low motivation, low inspiration, that is the type of people you're going to attract. And therefore, that's why they say birds of a feather flock together. And then what's going to happen is That is why you see some people in groups, none of those individuals actually make any progress in life. And if they do make progress, they make very little progress at best because they are attracting the same individuals who have that same low drive, low mentality, low self weight, low self esteem, low confidence. They just are surrounded by the same energy. So it's very difficult for individuals to break free from that type of environment. That is why you see some individuals when they do make some type of progress in life or they try to break free or to try to upgrade, it is most likely that the friends will actually disappear over a period of time as well. So again, yeah, you the people that you're surrounded with is definitely a reflection of who you are. And again, that is why it's so difficult if you are poor, or like they say, if you're a brokey, if you're a brokey, I think that word is so funny. But anyhow, if you're a brokey, and then you have a brokey mentality and you don't have any desire, you might have a desire to get some wealth, but again, that is why you're brokey because you have there's other things that's hindering you. It's not so much as it's not all about the environment. It's be hindering you, such as having limiting beliefs and so forth. You might not feel like you're worthy to have any money. You might feel based on where you came from, you might have that family limited financial belief instilled in you. Maybe so many reasons why you are a brokey. So, but however, then you have these subconscious beliefs, and then you have all of your friends that are brokies as well. So it's just like one type of big, broke fest. You understand me?
When you want something, you're going to attract some people back in their lives who also want things as well. So you're always going to have someone entering your life wanting something because you actually want something as well. If you, let's say, for example, you need something and whatever the things that you think that you need, when you come in contact with individuals, in many cases, you're going to attract individuals who need something as well. So it is, again, it is inevitable that you come to know who you are, because only until then you will actually develop the skills to actually attract the right individuals who are able to pick up on that frequency. And just like the radio station, your antenna and all of that has to be working properly to receive that channel. When you, let's say, for example, when you are operating at a lesser degree, what is going to happen is over a period of time.
Yeah, I just think I should just go back and say something before I go too far into that, which is very powerful as well. When the majority of us enter relationships, we enter the relationships with our hands out. Many of us enter relationships seeking to get some type of provision from another, seeking to get some type of something, whatever it may be. It may be physical, physical, it could be monetary, financial. In most cases, we enter relationships wanting. We're not usually entering relationships giving. So therefore, some individuals may always wonder why they keep attracting somebody who kind of always does not bring anything to the table and just takes. So these individuals who come across other brokies who just constantly want to take is because you are entering the relationship always wanting as well. So you're going to come into the relationship sending out a signal that you want something, and individuals who want something back from you as well. But if you change that small frequency and think about it as what can I give for someone to someone else? What can I do for someone else? How can I be of a else? How can I be? How can I help somebody's life to become better? Then you will attract those people as well that will enter your life that actually can produce things for you, help you in certain ways that you are unable to help yourself with because you are also sending out a signal to help others as well. That is why the Bible says, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And those scriptures are not just, there for fun and for games. They literally are laws. What goes around comes around as well.
Time, you also are going to start to attract people again. You are operating, let's say you're operating at a 1 or a 2, whatever low level scale you're operating at, you are automatically going to attract individuals at that level of that scale as well. But so let's say now you move to a frequency, a level of frequency of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. then a period of time, after a period of time, you too will also attract these individuals that are operating on that frequency of 2, 3, 4. And say, let's say, for example, you move up to level 5 and you move to level 5 over a period of time, these individuals also will be attracted to you because of your level 5 frequency. And then after level 5 frequency, you say you move to level 6, 7, 8, 9, you will attract individuals who are operating on the level 6, 7, 8, 9. However, as time goes on, you will also know that what is going to happen is that those individuals who are operating on a much lesser level that you are operating on before, those individuals are actually going to disappear and dissipate. So you cannot continue to be on a level that you always were operating on before. So again, like I was saying, if you are operating, now you're operating at a 7, 8, 9, and then only the individuals who are operating on that 7, 8 line scale or frequency will be able to receive that frequency, and those are going to be the individuals you are going to attract. So you attract what you are. So again, that is why it is imperative that you continue to always make self-improvement and things of that sort as well. So as you continue to move up the frequency ladder, the individuals that were on a lower level of frequency, they too will also disappear because they will not be able to pick up on that frequency. It's like, again, you know, having a regular antenna. You know, if you have a regular antenna on your rooftop, you might be able to pick up some of the local channels, you know, some of the channels, the local radio stations or whatever the case may be. Let's say use TV, for example. Again, an antenna, you would be able to pick up some of the local channels. However, you would never be able to pick up HBO, Cinemax, and those channels that require subscriptions. So the same thing will apply to you as well. When you start to elevate yourself physically and emotionally and spiritually, only the individuals that has the equipment sophisticated enough to pick up on that scale or frequency, those individuals will now be attracted in your life. However, again, the individuals that were on levels 1, 2, and 3 before, those individuals are going to just automatically somewhat disappear because they cannot operate, they do not operate, and they cannot operate on the level that you are now sending out a frequency for those lower level individuals to receive. So that is the root cause of why, again, why we do not attract what we want. The people in our lives, we might want a level 10 individual. However, we may be operating personally from a level 4.
So that again, that would explain again why, like I said again, we tend to all of us, every single one of us tend to, again, we are very comfortable. Our friends, the people that we have in our lives, we have them there for a reason. Our relationships, our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our friends, we are comfortable with those people because we feel for one reason or another they are on the same level as us or they are very close. Most individuals don't go from, you know, uh, the street corners hanging out, on Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. Most individuals don't make such a leap. They tend to go from one, maybe hanging out on the streets, maybe, a little corner mall to a bigger mall, or but they're not gonna go to, like I said, the Hollywood Drive, Rodeo Drive, and they're not gonna just go from buying clothes from the local flea market to Saks Fifth Avenue. That is not the case. So, like I said again, what's gonna happen is when you operate on whatever level that may be, one, two, three, four, five, whatever level it may be, you're gonna attract those individuals on that level, and you're not gonna be able to in that because you can't technically you can't even really operate on that level. You only have the ability to operate on the level that you're able to operate on. Like I said, just like having an antenna, you have some, back in the day when we had antennas, and we didn't have cable, we didn't have satellites, we didn't have all of these different channels. Individuals who remember back in the day, they had the big antenna, used to be on the roof, and when the weather was bad, you know you couldn't catch anything, but you only was able to catch some channels, barely some channels, and especially depending where you live. If you live out of the country, out of the states and the islands and different things, so that the channel frequency was very, very poor. You had to have a tunnel, then you had to have a booster, and all type. You had to have so much type. You had so much type of shit just to pick up some type of channel. So the same thing applies as well. And so as we got cable, then we got that big satellite dish. I don't know if you remember the guys had that big dish. That dish was like big like a car, and the dish used to move. That was like one of the coolest you ever around. The big satellite dish with the big pole and shit in the yard and all that. Yeah, to keep it up. But the moral of the story, then they went to little dish, this little small little dish, and all that stuff. And then now we get the cable, now we have the box, and all those things are almost obsolete right now. You don't almost don't see anybody with dish anymore. Dish definitely is gone. The big dish, you may see somebody with a small dish, but the majority of people now have small cable boxes in their house. But the moral of the story is now that they have upgraded the system, they've upgraded all the technology. Now they're able to catch hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of channels as well. The same thing will apply to you. And so when you're on that 4, you cannot 7 or 8. You can only attract what you are. And then when you become a 7 or 8 or a 9, what was going to happen is those lower 1s, 2s, and 3s and those brokies, those individuals are going to start to disappear as well. So you only, again, you are just simply, if you look at your life, you look at your friends, you look at the people around you, and you look at how they are, just simply don't just look at them and say, oh, they are them and so forth. You need to see that those individuals are actually mirrors of yourself as well.
Or a level 3 or level 2 level of frequency. We do not have the capacity to send out the signal to attract the individuals that we actually want. So in order to attract those individuals that we want, we actually have to become those individuals that we want. If we want to be loving, if we want to be loved, we have to become more loving. If we want to be kind, if we want kind individuals to come into our lives, we have to become more kind. If we want more any type of individuals, caring, emotional, sensitive, empathic people, individuals, you have to actually become the thing that you want to become. So I will use myself, for example. I guess I would say when I was a lot younger, the type of individuals, the people that I attracted was more on I would say, a superficial level, because I was more, when I was a lot younger, I was extremely superficial as well, like most of us are. Naturally, we tend to, have standards and certain things we like and dislike. However, some individuals might be more superficial than others. So I too never actually rejected anyone, based on certain things. However, when it came down to attraction and females and relationships, I too had a very, I would say, uh, a standard, if I may say. Let's put it that way. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. But I too had a particular standard. And so therefore, I attracted women who were more superficial as well. Again, this is before I didn't always have this bed and always have this image and so forth and so on. So at the time, I also attracted women who were more superficial. They were more into looks, and they were more into, material things of that sort at the time. Like I said before, go and watch my other videos about who was before this. I used to wear the Rolly and the Monty ties, and the list goes on, and Perry Ellis, and this and that from head to toe. So I was most likely attracting women that were more into the superficial aspects of things. So that was actually one of the reasons. If you guys, again, go ahead and check out my other videos, I talk a lot about, I think it was how did I get the name Triple P? That video, yes, how did I get the name Triple P? Check that video. That video goes into some actual body count numbers and things of that sort. And that was one of the reasons I was able to obtain those numbers, because I too was just superficial, looking for just kind of a quick type of, slam bam, tycoon mom, catch and release type of thing. So I tended to also attract females like that as well. Women that maybe not didn't have that much sustenance. They were more so just choosing based on superficial things, like I said, wearing a little rolly and little jewels around the neck and little things of that sort and extremely immaculate, what I'm saying? Things of that sort. I'm not saying that you should not be that way now, but however, I'm saying that was the type of women that I attracted. So it really made it a lot easier for me to basically get some of those numbers that I did get because of that appearance that I had. It was more of a strong sexual appeal, a more attractive look, if I may say. So, however, uh, as time went on, my as my as
So I will go back over that very briefly because that is something very powerful as well. Because like I said, when I was younger, I was more superficial. I was very superficial in reference to the type of women that I'm still somewhat that way. I don't get it twisted and think that I'm going to the bottom of the barrel. No, I'm not going to the swamps to find Fiona. You understand me? No, no, no. So, but however, back then I was really more superficial. At least today, I- you know, I may consider certain things, based on other characteristics. You don't have to have the total package because nobody has the total package. I'm not God's gift to woman as well. But however, like I said, younger I was more into my appearance, and I'm still into my appearance as well. But obviously, like I said, I didn't always have this look. I always didn't look like Moses. I always didn't, have my hair in a turban. I didn't always look this way. I was, like I said, Perry Ellis, Rolly, and the list goes on and on. Armani scarves and Armani jackets and tie and all this type of, you understand me? All of this type of real glamorous type of look. So therefore, I attracted a certain breed of women as well. So when women saw me, they looked at me and say, hey, this guy, we thought this guy is immaculate and well dressed, well groomed, and I'm saying whatever the impression I made on them, I attracted that type of woman as well. The same thing would apply to most guys who believe that if they get certain things, just like it is okay. Like I said, it's all good. Get it if you could get it. Get the bike, get the car, get the rollie, get the house, get whatever you could get it. But at the same time, just be aware that you're gonna attract women that tend to be more superficial as well. So the guys who are thinking that when I get this car, that's when I'm gonna get some girls. However, that is true. But however, you're gonna get certain types of girl that's not gonna be with you when your car break down. You understand me? So if you could get a girl, you know, if you could catch a girl when you're on the bus, which is gonna be very difficult, unless you say you own the bus, maybe. But these women, they, guys, you don't have a. So, but like I said, unless you own the bus, you start a better chance. But for the most part, if you catch a girl when you're catching the bus and she sees the potential in you, that is the best type of girl to get because that girl knows, you're going to school, you're pursuing education. She knows that you have the potential to become something down the line. However, unfortunately, women tend to wait to the finish line for men as well. Women tend to wait on winners. Unfortunately, that is the way it is. Women tend to be more looking for the guys who are already established, the guys who have already made it. Women tend to not be so much as those who are trying to make it. Some women, again, if you show the potential, you show the drive, you show the motivation, you show the effort that you are going to be something or you're going to be somewhere in a particular time. Like I said, you have X amount of time before you graduate. Yes, women will stick around because they know where you're going to go. But however, for the most part, like I said, if you're thinking that getting women with money or material things is a good idea, I don't think that's a good idea at all. In the game, they call it leading with your wallet. If you lead with your wallet, meaning leading with your money, leading with your material things, like I said, you go and get this nice car. Yes, you get a girl because your car looks nice. What happens when your car breaks down? What happens when your car is written off? You can't get a new car. You're gonna lose that girl. So again, we have to be very careful. That's like me. Like I said, I always didn't have this appearance, and now technically I attract a different breed of women as well. I don't attract the same set of women that I did attract when I was younger and I was more clean shaven and so forth. They used to call me Pretty Boy Floyd back in the day. I had a different, completely look than I have now. But however, I'm happy with it. But however, at the same time, I do not attract the same set of women that I did attract as well. When I, like I said, when I was wearing my little rolly and a little jewels and so forth, and very clean shaven and all, you know, clean cut and all that stuff. I was attracting more, like I said, more, a certain type of women. But now that I have this particular look, I do still attract women. No matter how you look at them, I'm going to attract women. You understand me? But the moral of the story is they are just a different type of women. They may not be so, uh, you know, superficiality may not be the number one thing on their list. But however, that does not mean that I should be a brokey. When they see me, I still have to present a certain type of caliber of a man financially and different things. I still need to be that guy. You understand me? But however, sometimes even sort of more so, you need if you have certain things that may not necessarily be working in your favor. If you might not be the most attractive guy physically, you might not be the tallest, you might not have the most money or whatever the case may be, then you need to really, really work on other things as well. You need to really, really work on other things to kind of make you stand out and actually to get that chance, if I may say, because like I said, I'm not going to be every woman's cup of tea. Now that I have this particular image, this particular look, I have lost some and I've won some as well. But at the same time, I will say that the breed of women, if I may say, is completely, completely different. So again, I am not leading with that superficial type of personality. At the same time, my standards are still there, my qualifications and requirements are still there as well. But at the same time, I no longer am attracting that fully super, super, super superficial woman because I am no longer that fully super superficial guy.
As my understanding grew and different things grew about myself and different aspects grew, my desires about the individuals changed also as well. So what happened was, again, so for example, say going back, looking back at then to now, you know, when people first met me again, that's how I came off, playboy, player, this, that, this and that. But now when individuals see me now, the energy and the vibration and the frequency that I give off is a completely, totally different type of energy. More so, more of a holistic, more of a healing type of, more of a natural type of thing. So the women that I attract now are completely, completely different. It's almost like night and day to compare to the women that I attracted back then to the women that I attract now. Most of the women are, again, obviously I have not changed my perspective on beauty. I always will be attracted, and we all are. I will always be attracted to beautiful things in general. However, uh, the nature of the women I've noticed have changed. They tend to, again, they might be naturally beauty, but they approach, they come when they see me, they see me more. So like, again, like I said, from a discipline type of a holistic healer, health type of thing, uh, uh, transformation. That's in many cases that's the women that I attract tend to. They are looking for something more in most cases, in the sense that they see me and they think that maybe I could help them become better in some way, some shape or form, health wise, some type of discipline structure, some type of, because I'm very analytical. Communication is a very strong factor, as you could see by now, as my talking skills. So again, so those are the women I tend to attract, not so much as the superficial women that I did attract before. And I do transform. I actually do go from Superman, from Clark Kent to Superman. When I transform, I do put on, blazers and things of that sort, and get more dressed up. And when I get more dressed up, that's a different individual as well. However, most corporate women, I may say, may not necessarily, I might not be image-wise per se, I might not be their first choice because of, again, having such of a natural look. However, more natural women tend to be naturally beautiful women, women who are more into intellectual things, stimulating the mind, things of that sort, women who wants to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, things of that sort. Those are the women I tend to attract because that is the person that I've become. And that doesn't mean that there's no there, or because I will always maintain a masculine frame and my masculine identity, and they will always be, I will always maintain a male to female type of relationship in that aspect. So I'm not just saying Again, that's why they call me Triple P. So I'm not just coming from a just holier than thou perspective, but however, what I'm saying is that now that my energy has changed and I too am no longer so much coming from that superficial perspective, I tend to attract women also who are not coming so much from that superficial perspective. And they too, yes, they do have standards because I still have standards. However, they too, now they're coming from more of a growth perspective, women who want to maybe grow and become something better or bigger and want more out of life rather than just some of the more objective things, you know, because women could find, could sleep with any guy pretty much at any time. You could be a female in a wheelchair and you could find someone who is going to sleep with you. That is not even optional. But when it comes down to finding someone to sleep with, a woman could be, like I said, pretty much paralyzed from head to toe, and a man would pretty much still sleep with that woman. So, same for men and women. Men from a different perspective than women. So as time go on, again, as you become older and as you become more mature, your priorities change as well. So again, back in the day, I was more approaching women from a superficial perspective. If you had looks, if you had a body, you were good to go. I didn't really care that much about how you really, you know, psychologically, if you were psychologically together or you whatever. In fact, I attracted many crazy, I shouldn't say crazy, that's bad choice of words, but many women who are not mentally, yeah, they had a lot of problems. They had a lot of problems because
That's funny. That's the truth. That's the God of the truth. I did attract some women that were not so mentally stable because I wasn't mentally stable myself. That is what I'm getting at because again, you attract who you are. And I did, like I said, back in the day, more superficial. All I cared about was looks. You had a body, you had a nice face, you was good to go. I didn't think about anything else. I didn't care. And most men are that way as well until they get to know these women that they pursue. They are pursuing some of these women that may have a nice body, physically very pretty in the face, and they pursue. As soon as they get these women to become a part of their lives, they realize that this girl is crazy. And this happens all day, every day throughout the manosphere. So most men, again, only pursue things superficially. Again, that is a mistake that we most men make early on in life, and then they become a lot more aware and more attuned as they become older to their real needs, and they realize that looks are not gonna cut it alone. A woman has to become to bring more to the table than just looks alone, and that is what most men realize a lot later down the line. Like I was saying, as myself, because of being superficial, having such high standards and so forth, and having a completely different look at the time, I attracted a certain breed of women. I attracted a certain woman, a certain caliber of women. But like I said, as time went on, and I accumulated, more of a natural look, some of those women that I was able to get back then, I was unable to get those women at all because those women they was more superficial. They was more concerned about, oh, what is my friends gonna think, if I bring Moses home? What are my parents gonna think, if I bring, Zachariah home or something like that? So they tend to think more superficially, thinking about what their friends think. Yes, they still might love me, they still might find me to be attractive, but they might be more caught up on my image. How does my image affect them? How does my image affect their identity? How this is what they think about more than anything else. They still love me. They still want to work with me. But however, the image that I portray now is such an image that they it's a barrier per se. I've always had a high count of attracting women, but at the same time, I think I've lost some because of the image change. Because now some of the women, like I said, who are more superficial might be more into that clean cut look. So those women tend to be more, again, like I said, superficially thinking about what are my friends gonna say, what is my boss gonna see if I bring uh, you know, uh, Abraham home. You understand me? So it's gonna be a completely different breed, and like I said, more corporate women, women who have go to corporate parties and things of that sort. I do switch now. I don't want you guys to misunderstand. I do switch my style. I do get fly to the sky. I do put on the something. But at the same time, I'm saying that I know that the breed of women I attract now, because when the women see me now, they tend to think of, like I said, more so disciplined. They see me now, they think they go, this guy, he's not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to do certain things. Maybe I am not gonna be able to behave a certain way, or maybe I'm not gonna be able to get away with this or get away with that. So they that tend to somewhat discourage them as well. So I tend to find women who are maybe a lot more disciplined as well. Women who may be looking for structure, or be looking for discipline. Women who may be more into more spiritual things, more deeper subject matters. Women who may be looking for more sustenance, spiritual growth, things of the sort. Women into more taboo subject matters that most superficial women may not be into. So those are the women I tend to attract. Very, very deep spiritual women. And I'm not saying that they're not attractive. They get some attractive women too. Naturally, like I said, naturally beautiful women. But however, like I said, some of the more superficial women, I've lost a few. You understand me? But however, I'm still winning. You understand me? Triple P, P-I-M-B.
because I didn't really care. I thought, I didn't really care at the time, and I thought I was maybe could help them or whatever the case may be. I just went with it, but I did not really understand at the time what I was really dealing with. I didn't know what I was really doing because, again, I was just more so looking at the physical aspect, having and she's that nice body and all that. That was it. That was the requirement, and I didn't care nothing much about anything else. Just like most men are. Most men don't really care that much about anything else other than the body. But however, as we evolve as men, as we evolve as women, our standards change and our frequency change as well. Now the same woman that I consider to be attractive, yes, I still will always, again, don't get me wrong, that attraction thing, that attractive thing is always going to be there. I don't think I'm never going to not speak, is not going to just give up on attraction. That is in our nature. However, now it is a lot different for me because now I don't just pull, you just can't win me over just by being attractive alone. If you were just attractive alone, then that would be back in the day, you were good to go. But as time went on again, that attractiveness, you need to have other attributes, other internal attributes. You have to have certain characteristics and certain criteria have to be met. And so I'm not just going to I'm not even going to just sleep with you just so that it's not going to work that way. And I actually throw some women off because when they find out that, the type of things that I'm into and the type of requirements, I'm not just going to sleep with you. I mean, I don't care who you are. Halle Berry could come and, I'm just saying, I'm just using a name right now, could come and lay down, and that's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Because now I require more. So my standards have actually changed to a great degree, moving away from being just superficial looks to having more now, needing more internal things. And so therefore, I too, so with that understanding, so now I also attract, because of having this different high frequency that I'm sending out. Now some of the women, they too, sometimes they might get intimidated, or they might feel, they might know from the get-go they do not meet the requirements, so they automatically are disqualified. So back in the day, I was just, like I said, I was giving out applications, but I wasn't really, reading the applications. You know what I'm saying? I was just giving them out and giving everybody a job, once you met the physical requirements. But that's not the case right now. Now I take applications, and you would get, just like a job, I would not even, the application goes in the dump based on certain things. If you don't meet certain requirements, or you have a particular thing, or you understand. So I have my what I'm looking for, what I understand, and what I want, because now I know myself. I know what I want. I know what I don't want, and that is what I've been trying to tell you guys from day one. If you know who you are, then you would automatically be able to stand for something, because like I said, if you do not stand for something, you would fall for anything. So with that being said, many individuals may not understand the dangers.
And that's the truth. See, that's like I said again, evolution comes in many different ways. Despite, like I said again, I may have went from being such a superficial guy, just body and looks, facial looks alone. When like I said, back in the day, when I was collecting applications, I would collect applications from anyone. As long as you had a little body, you had some looks, you was good to go. I wouldn't even read the application. I would take the application, put a stamp on it, pop. You know what I'm saying? On the job, hired. But now, as far as I'm concerned, half the applications don't even make it to my desk. They get pushed through scrutiny, and my secretary look at the application, and the application is thrown in the shredder, and the dumps, in the garbage. So now actually lost a few per se because of the image and so forth and so forth. My standards have actually risen because back in the day, some of the women that I've actually was able to get firewall, if I may say, some of the women were able to have access to me much easier. Those women don't even stand a chance today. Those women can't even look. They don't even. I Jesus Christ. You understand me? So what I'm saying here is because yes, as we evolve now that I am on a different level, I have grown. I've grown in different areas. My frequency now is different now. I too now because I've set much higher standards and I've set the bar higher for myself. That also means that now the women that I attract is gonna be looking for guys that have standards. Not the same way that I am. I'm attracting the women that are like me as well. Women are now looking at me saying, "Hey, this guy has discipline. This guy has this. This guy has that. He seems to be progressing. He seems to be know what he wants. He seems to have an idea about this. He seems to be going somewhere. He seems to have drive. He seems to have goals." Women like that or who are doing those things will find me to be attractive as well because they're going to be attracting. I'm going to be attracting women just like me. But like I said back in the day, I accepted applications. I didn't even read the application. I didn't even look. I just said, "Hey, qualified, boom, good to go." But now, no, 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 no. The standards and the requirements is almost like it almost. I'm gonna leave it at that. You understand? Because I think I'm going on. I'm running out right now.
Of not knowing who they are, and they may not go, they may continuously go into relationships seeking partners, seeking to find happiness, and they may think that because they find this person is going to bring them happiness, peace, and joy, and all of that. That is not the case because again, they do not know who they are. And so what I have come to the conclusion is normal the number one root cause of all I wouldn't say all, but most bad relationships is because individuals get into relationships not knowing who they are and not knowing their strengths, their weaknesses, a lot of things they just don't know about themselves, and then they attract these individuals into their lives as well. So what I did was I came across I wouldn't say came across, this is going to be the first time that I'm going to actually something without having a script per se. And for those of you guys who have heard about it, you may know about it, what they call serial monogamous relationships. So most of us are in we are serial monogamous relationship type of individuals. I too was a serial monogamous relationship type of individual, meaning that you go from one relationship to the next without having much time in between to heal and to grow and to know yourself. And that is why, again, all of my videos are about knowing who you are. So again, I too was a serial monogamous relationship. Yes, I might have been at some point I was monogamous, and but however, I would as soon as that relationship end, I would be into the next relationship. I didn't really, and that is one of the reasons why I attracted some of the women that I did attract, because like I said, we attract who we are. And like I said, I did attract some females that were more so psychologically having problems, if I may say, putting it lightly. They came into relationship with a lot of wounds and a lot of baggages and from the previous relationships, and I did not really see it as anything at the time because I didn't know any better. However, these women too went from their boyfriend, and women, especially women do it a lot. Women tend to have backups. They have a backup guy, and guys do it, but not so much as women. Women tend to have guys on a string of guys online waiting for the next guy just to hire and fire. But they don't. Guys and girls do this. I'm not so particularly talking about male or female here, but I'm saying women are really specialized in just moving on, what they call monkey branching, jumping from one branch to the next, because of the hypergamous nature.
And that is so true because, like I said again, this what I'm about to talk about right now. This is very powerful. I hope you guys get something from this. And like I said, I don't ever read from scripts all of my videos, or pretty much I just talk whatever comes to my mind. But this will be one of the very few rare times that I've actually read something, because again, it was such of importance that I, get it accurate. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, so I wanted to read something for you guys. And I was talking about what they call being a serial monogamous individuals who are, in relationships from one relationship to the next, from one relationship to the next. And like I said earlier, when I was younger as well, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I didn't see anything because I was dysfunctional myself. I didn't really think about it from, from a healthy perspective. I never thought about it, you know, I never thought about what the female was bringing into the relationship. I'm talking about what type of damage that the female was bringing in the relationship, what type of wounds the female was bringing in the relationship. I didn't think of any of that when I was younger. I just thought that I was getting a girl. I had a girl, and I know nobody's perfect. Everybody has problems. Everybody, has issues. So I never really thought of it as, you know, I never looked at it from a trauma perspective. How traumatized is this person from the relationship? Can the wounds be healed? Can the person overcome the last person that they were with? How hung up or are they on the previous relationship? There's so much different things that I did not see at the time when I was younger, and that's why I'm making this point now about the dangers of being a person who do not know who you are. When you do not know who you are and you move from one relationship to the next, you don't really know again what the person, the baggage the person is bringing with, the type of problems they're gonna have to deal with because the person themselves never took the time to heal and to move on in a more healthy manner, just going from one relationship to the next. And that's what I did as well. And so, like I said, because of that, being unhealthy myself, not even being aware of my dysfunctions, I too attracted a lot of women, like I said, that may have not been so healthy, if I may say, just putting it lightly. But again, I didn't know any better as well. So again, I was just as I was just as bad as them. I was just as crazy as them because I was attracting the women that were like me as well. Because I thought in my mind, maybe if I got this girl would make me happy and I would feel better and this and that about myself and so forth. So I attracted women too as well with what the dysfunctional that actually I thought for some reason that they would actually help me in some way, shape or form. But no, they did not. A lot of waste as far as I'm concerned. I did not realize many of these dysfunctions that I had until I was actually out of those relationships. I didn't realize how dysfunctional that those individuals were that I were with until I came out of the relationships. So it sometimes it takes separation, it takes time, it takes distance, it takes a lot of things to really see your shortcomings as well. So I'm not just looking at individuals' problems per se. I am talking about me attracting women based on my dysfunctions, me attracting women based on my shortcomings, me attracting women based on my inability to heal and to grow and to become healthy all by myself. Because if I were in a healthy position, if I were healthy and happy, I would have not been with some of these women at all. But however, circumstances, life had it that I would have the experience and I would go through it. And I was better for it. Now, if I had to take it back, I would not take anything back because all of my experiences would have allowed me to become one of the greatest life transformation coaches in the world. That is why I'm here on these platforms. That's why I'm here helping. That is why I'm here sharing. That is why, because I feel again, like I said again, once you know who you are, only then you could come into somebody's life and benefit somebody's life. But if you don't know who you are, you're going to look at that person thinking that that person is going to be your savior, and you're going to be disappointed, and it's going to cause more heartache, more pain, and more sorrow as well.
So again, that is one of the reasons why I attracted women that was somewhat, again, challenging. I had challenges loving and having challenges opening up to me, having challenges being emotional because they were somewhat affected so negatively from the previous relationships. They came into the new relationship not having the skills, the emotional skills and then the communication skills to express themselves. And a lot of time it came from childhood. Their parents their dad treated them a certain way, and they went on in life and they attracted men just like their father. That's why they say women attract men like men who are like their father. And so, but however, if you have a father that was neglectful or whatever, very harsh and cruel to you and so forth, it's possible that you also could find men in your life who will be the same way as well. So again, me not having the understanding of who I was, not knowing what I wanted, having any standards, any quality. I mean, I had physical standards, but I did not have any other criteria other than you being attractive. And that was again, so I attracted a lot of attractive women. However, these women had a lot of problems. And when I got into a relationship, and most of us might notice if you are a guy or you a girl, you could tell who has the problems because, for example, you are a guy, and I'm sure most guys have experienced this before. Almost every guy on the planet probably has experienced this before.
And I just want to clear this up, just for the record again. I too was dysfunctional. I just want you guys to hear that I'm not just pointing at these women and saying it's all the women because again, we attract who we are. So if I'm attracting all of these beautiful women that may appear to be beautiful or attractive, have a nice body or something going on for them physically, however, they were also dysfunctional as well because I too was dysfunctional as well because like I said, if I knew who I was and what I was all about and my circumstances and situations was different, I would have never done some of the things that I did. But because I was dysfunctional myself, that is why I did it also. So again, just getting that, making that clear. I don't want anybody to think that I'm just pointing the finger at the women. I too had my shortcomings. I too had wounds would not heal. I too had issues myself that I did not see at the time. I did not look at the time. I was not evolved enough at the time to do any better as well.
All good, but mostly it happens with women because men are not so much emotionally vulnerable per se. But however, you get involved with a girl, and when you get involved with this girl, all she does is talk about her ex. How her ex does this, her ex did this, her ex did this, blah, 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 blah. That is someone who is not emotionally available. That is someone who is not psychologically and emotionally healthy because they are still carrying a lot of the energy and the vibrations and the frequency from the previous relationships. And so that individual again would be considered a serial monogamous individual. They go from one relationship like a serial killer. They go from one relationship to the next without getting any space and any time in between. So, or if you are a male or a guy who goes from one relationship to the next, you would be considered again someone who practices serial monogamous relationships. However, again, this all comes from not knowing who you are, not taking the time to know exactly who you are. Because if you knew who you are, you would not jump right back into a relationship because you would realize that you are not worthy per se to be in a relationship because you are not healthy. You are not in a position because you do not bring anything to the table. That is why, again, like I was saying, my frequency has changed now. I am not coming into relationships asking and wanting and needing per se. I am coming giving. And because I know what I bring to the table, the value that I bring now, I realize that I am also more so consider myself to be a prize because now back in the day I thought I was a prize, but I was sharing the prize with every and anyone who kind of just maybe had the looks, but they may not have actually been qualified enough to actually deserve being with the prize.
Let me just go back very briefly because that was very important too as well. I don't want that to just go overlooked. Like I said, one of the symptoms, because we understand a serial monogamous practice from one relationship to the next, and there's not very much time in between relationships. So if you're a person and you go from one relationship to the next, you didn't spend no time alone, you didn't spend much time, in solitude, you didn't spend much time reflecting and things of that sort, you would be considered a monogamous serial relationship type of person. And so basically, yes, you may be with one person at a time. That's what we're talking about. You may not be cheating, you may not be having multiple partners, but you are actually just going from one relationship to the next. And like I said earlier, one of the symptoms of someone, you could tell if somebody who has still not healed, or they are still not, has not evolved. They're not over the previous relationship. When you get in that relationship, and we see this all the time, be it males or females, you could be a girl, you could get involved in a relationship with a guy, and that guy, all the guy does is talk about his ex. My ex, my ex, my ex, she did this, she did that. My ex, my ex, my. That guy is not healed. That guy is still traumatized. That guy still has a lot of problems. That guy still has a lot of issues going on. That is why that guy is still talking about his ex. So when you, and because of us not knowing any better, we don't know any better, so we take that person on, and we think that, hey, you know what, I'm going to help heal this person. I'm going to help motivate this person to get over their ex. This is the biggest mistake you could ever make. This is what most of us do. Almost every one of us has done this before. Found somebody in a relationship and they was not over their previous partner, but we thought for some reason that it was not really that important. We thought that maybe after they got to know us a little bit better, they would maybe change their perspective and they would maybe get over that person. But most of us don't realize that in most cases we are just a stepping stone. We are just actually someone that is filling the gap, filling the space, because now that person is so wounded over that particular relationship, they cannot even heal or go. They can't even, they could never ever really technically, never ever really love you at all, because that person is so traumatized per se over the previous relationship, they can't even, technically they can't even love you. I know individuals who have been in situations like that, to whereas they've been in relationships, whereas their girlfriend or their boyfriend has a very difficult time even saying I love you. Most men, some men who are traumatized, they can't even tell their new girlfriend they love them, because they've been so wounded in the past. They feel like now all women are that way. So yes, they might like you, yes, they might buy you things, they might do nice things for you, and they might do super special things for you, but that guy heart is really not in it to win it. He is there somewhat, just, you are just a per se, you're just there to help fill that empty gap, that void, because that individual does not want to be alone. And so as a serial monogamous relationship type of person, that individual just went from one person to the next and not even actually had gotten over the previous relationship as well. So when you get involved with a relationship, whether it be a male or female, and that person just consistently, continuously talk about their ex, that is a major, 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 major red flag that you should look out for. But again, like I said, I too have done it. I too have done it. I too have overlooked these red flags, because again, I too myself was not healthy and whole myself. I too myself needed to, heal. I too myself was traumatized over certain situations and certain relationships, certain things that happened to me as well. But I thought within myself that I was qualified enough to be in a relationship, but I too did not take enough time off to be alone, to spend time with myself, and to grow as well, and so forth and so on. So now we see that my behavior, my actions is also attracting other women with that same negative downfall. And what do you think is going to come of that? More negativity, more drama, more trauma, more arguments, more unhappiness, more just dysfunctional, more dysfunctional relationships. That is what we're talking about, a cycle that is going on over and over and over, all because you don't know who you are. So, for example, like I said, most of us have never spent that much time by themselves. So I mean, the position that I'm in now, I've spent so much time in solitude and self-evaluation, self-reflection, building myself in many different ways. I would not trade that in for the world. If I had to choose between being alone for eternity versus to go in some dysfunctional relationship, I could be happy by myself. I would not sacrifice that. But again, that is when you go through the self work. That is when you put in the work. That's when you put in the time. But if you're a person you have not done that, you are most likely going to move right into a next relationship, and the relationship is not going to work, and you're going to blame the person, and you're going to say it's that person, when you actually don't even realize that you are also part of that negative equation as well.
So I kind of shared myself here, there, and everywhere, not understanding even the spiritual implications of doing such things. I did not know any better. However, I'm not complaining about it. I'm not saying I would take it back, you understand me? Because it made me to be who I am today, and it gave me the information and the knowledge and the wisdom that I have today to actually be able to help others and teach others to understand what is more valuable and what's not valuable and different things. Yes, every individual has to learn lessons for themselves. However, I too can take my experiences and help others as well. Young men who may just order body count numbers may be the big thing. Yes, go get your numbers and lock up your numbers if you want to, whatever the case may be. But over a period of time, you will realize that the numbers, again, you are going to have the experiences yourself. But I'm trying to save you time, trouble, and headache, and maybe even some type of STD or some type of terminal sickness because of just sleeping around casually and not really having the context of understanding your worth and your value and how it somewhat even could diminish you. Yes, it sounds good to men, having high body count numbers and all that and so forth. And yes, it is somewhat, to know that you have a pre-selection, you're a pre-selected guy and you could get women and all that. But however, at the same time, does it add to you spiritually? Does it help you grow as an individual? Different things of that sort. So back in the day, again, those were the things that I did not take into account. That is why I'm creating these videos today as well, to help individuals take these things into account before they do some things, because some individuals might not be as lucky as me. Like I said, I was lucky numbers I have. I never caught a disease. I never caught anything. I was just grateful and lucky, and I don't know what to say. I was safe and so forth, but however, safe doesn't also always keep you safe. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyhow, not having an understanding of who I was and what I needed.
And so that's the like I said, back in the day when I was sharing myself, with, to and fro with all these women, I didn't think about, taking account of, what it was doing to me in reference to my spiritual sharing myself and mixing my energy with all of these other energies and, you know, contaminating my energy with these women that had contaminated energy. My energy was contaminated as well. But at the same time, I did not think of any of this. I just thought it was, hey, get these numbers, rack up a high body count, numbers, numbers, numbers. That is all it was. But I didn't care. I didn't think about anything about being spiritual or anything of that sort. And most men don't even think about these things. Again, most men don't think about the energy, the frequency, because intimacy is one of the most powerful things that anyone can share. So we're talking about you're sharing the most intimate parts of yourself with somebody, and that person has a very negative energy type of vibration, and you're sharing your energy and you're mixing energy with that type of person. I didn't really think of any of that at all. I just saw a pretty face and I saw a body, and like I said, I was very, 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 very fortunate to be able to come out without actually catching an STD. That is another thing most individuals do not understand. You could actually, sleep with one person the one time, and that it could be your luck could be bad. That is why I can't believe, the odds really were in my favor, and everything was on my side, because now I'm able to tell the tale. That is why I was able to, when I, it was so fortunate. I would say, you know what, I think it's best I take a break right now because I got out of it, unscathed, unharmed, so that is why I'm able to actually help teach and preach and so forth, especially the young men, to help individuals understand, of just because a female might look a certain way, that does not mean anything. Looks could be deceiving. You could see a female, she could look like a Barbie doll, straight from heaven. But that female, you could sleep with that girl one time, and that's a wrap. So don't let looks fool you. But again, like I said, I was very fortunate to be in a position to have such body count numbers, astronomical numbers, scientific calculators needed and all that, sun and moon and all that, but at the same time, I did not catch one STD, and I am so grateful, beyond gratefulness. That is why I would not take the risks that I did take in the past. I didn't take many risks, but at the same time, we all know even if you're safe, safe doesn't mean 110%. You still can catch something even when you're being safe. So again, today I wouldn't risk it at all. But again, that is why I'm trying to help, hopefully prevent some individuals from actually making any mistakes that may be grievous, that may actually cost them their lives in the long run as well.
I too also, what I did was I settled sometimes for individuals because they may have physically had the attributes, but they were not psychologically and emotionally ready for a relationship. And again, like I said, you could see this all the time happening when individuals get into a relationship, and the female, she is constantly talking about her ex, and her ex did this and her ex did that. That is a woman who is not actually psychologically and emotionally available. And so that woman herself, I don't think she should be in a relationship at all. She should take the time, or a male, whatever it may be. Even men come into a relationship wounded and injured, and they have certain feelings and they feel a certain way from the previous relationship. I suggest that no one, be it male or female, just jump right back into a relationship. Even if the relationship was good and the relationship ended, I still think you should take some type of time, some type of break to know yourself and to get to know who you are as a person, as a spiritual being, and actually find out about the things you actually like and dislike. Find out about the things that you can tolerate and the things you cannot tolerate. Because again, that is the problem, is because we did not take the time to know who we are. We go into these relationships and we become, we become serial monogamous relationship individuals. And because of this, we do not understand, we do not understand what the implications of this are. We do not understand why we keep attracting the same individuals, because again, like I said, we are not healed. We did not take enough time to go into these relationships. And so what I will do today is, for the first time ever in history, I'm going to actually read something word for word, because it is related, and I don't want to actually miss anything. I don't want to leave anything out. That is why I am doing this, because I tend to, again, all my videos are just talking from scratch on the top of the dome. I don't have any script or anything. But since we're talking about serial monogamous relationships, I would like to let you hear it from the horse's mouth. So what I did was I Googled it, and so I'm going to give you guys some of the characteristics of what a serial monogamous relationship is, what it looks like, some of the characteristics, if you possess some of these characteristics, and so forth and so on. So going to Google now, I have my other phone right here. See if I have my other phone right now, Googling that. And then, so what it says is the definition, again, everything that I state is going to be boiling back down to not knowing who you are and why you attract the individuals you attract. Because again, if you have any of these characteristics, you're going to attract the individuals just like this. So again, the definition according to Google, just go and Google it, type in serial monogamous relationships. You go on YouTube, look at a few videos or whatever the case may be. But it says that a serious relationship is a pattern of having a series of exclusive committed partnership, one after another, often with little to no time spent single in between. So if you are an individual who basically, you might be in a monogamous relationship, you might be loyal, you might be, again, one-on-one relationships, but you do not actually spend the time, you have not spent much time alone by yourself, and you just went from one relationship to the next, then that would be considered the definition of serial monogamous relationship. And most of us do. Again, that is what we do. We tend to go from one relationship to the next without actually spending time alone to know who we are and being single long enough. So it goes on to say, while each relationship is monogamous, the individual moves from one partner to the next frequently, potentially without the time to heal or reflect on relationships. So again, that's what I'm talking about, not spending the time single long enough to reflect and look at what went wrong in your life, what went wrong in the relationship. Look at the boundaries that you did set. Look at the boundaries that you did not set. Look at the boundaries that were breaking. Look at the things that caused you offense, caused you pain, caused you harm. Look at the things that you are able to accept, things that you are not able to accept, things that you are able to tolerate, things that you are able to not tolerate. You have to be able to spend some time alone to reflect all these things as well. So again, that is a major factor. That is the definition of a serial monogamous relationship. So I'm going to read the whole thing one more time again, that's without interference. But again, the cause of being a serious monogamous relationship individual is again because of not knowing who you are. Because if you know who you are over a period of time, I'm going to tell you this right now, if you guys go and watch my video again, how did I go 6 years? After going such a long time, putting that much effort and energy into myself and other and building myself psychologically, emotionally, financially, and all of these other things. Actually, it got to the point where it was like, no, I'm not just gonna just no. It's I. It became it almost like I became. I don't want to say this don't take this the wrong way, but you see how women have such high standards about who they sleep with. That is what happened to me as well. Now I'm not just going to just break my sobriety for some female just who maybe looked the part, but she didn't have anything else to go along with that package deal. So that is what I'm saying to you as well. So, oh wow, this is crazy. I don't know if you guys are going to see this, but the stingray is coming back again. You see the same stingray what I saw the other day in the video? I hope you see it. This is the exact same stingray, I think. Maybe, I don't know, this is crazy. You guys see him? This is really, really crazy. I think I did this video yesterday. He's coming to the top, actually. I don't know if you guys, oh yeah, he's coming to the top. It's pretty too, has like polka dot spots and all of that. I think this is a sign, you know what I'm saying? Because I think this is probably the third or fourth time I saw the same stingray. I don't know if it's the same stingray, but it looked like the same stingray, but I think it's the same stingray. But anyhow, back to what I was saying. So again, not.
And I was so sad. I hate to say it. I was so sad. That spot, the location that I was at, I really loved that spot so much, man. And I saw that stingray. I think it was the same stingray, but I saw a few stingrays that keep coming by, and it was so pretty. But I had to move because of, so many individuals were always coming by and, interrupting the video and wanting to hear what I was talking about, and so I had to move to a different spot. Now I can't see any sea animals. But back to what I was saying. So again, serial monogamous relationships, if you enter one relationship back to back without actually spending time alone in solitude to reflect, to look back, how many of us, be honest with ourselves, how many of us, if we truly ask ourselves, have went a few months, let's say a year. Not many of us have actually went 1 year alone, single. Most of us will go a few weeks, a few months, and we're not even spending time alone. We're actually just waiting for the next person to come by as well. So many of us can't go a year being alone. Like I said, self-reflection, all that stuff. But like I said as well, after spending some time for my last previous relationship, spending some time. In fact, the girl that I was with, the last girl I was with, if she was to watch this video, she would be shocked. She would be blown away to know that she was literally the last girl I was with. I went on a completely different path. I started to pursue other things, my dreams, my goals. I started to work on myself. I started to work on other areas and then so forth. That is what made me, again, one of the greatest life transformation coaches that ever existed because I was able to take that time to work on myself, to heal, to better myself, and to transform. And so, like I said, that girl would be shocked to hear that she was the last girl I was with. But again, I took all of that time to better myself. And now that I've done all of these things, that I've made all these accomplishments, I'm not even going to just take applications and just no. You understand me? I'm going to have to take your application to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to disqualify you. You understand me? Because that's how much requirements, the standards have changed and everything has changed because back in the day, like I said, I too went from one relationship to the next. And the very last relationship I was in, I would say I too was also dysfunctional. That is why, like I said, it worked out to such a way to where I was able to spend some time alone, and I started to like being alone, and I started to become so comfortable alone. I started to think, like I said, just like how females feel like, you know what, I'm not just gonna mess with any guy. I started to, have a different perspective about women as well. I felt like, hey, but if I'm happy, I'm not just gonna go and ruin this just because of some girl who look attractive. No, you gotta have more than just looks alone. So when we do go and we do spend time alone and we do find ourselves, you're going to find a type of peace, you're going to find a type of joy, you're going to find a type of happiness that you cannot ever, ever, ever receive from being with somebody else. As far as I'm concerned, just to think of actually, being in some type of serious, long-term, serious committed relationship is a situationship that alone is created some type of stress alone because now you're gonna have to be obligated to help somebody else be happy and you're gonna have to be obligated to do all these different things. That is why if you work on yourself and you better yourself and you get to a certain level, you will find somebody who's gonna come into your life who is going to be complete as well. At least they're going to be as complete as much as possible, and they're going to have the same vibration, whereas they're not looking to you like they need you. They're going to look at you as being more so of as a complementary type of part of their life as well. And if you don't meet the requirements, they're not going to accept you. Same thing applies as well. If the person don't meet the requirement, your requirements, don't accept them as well. But the moral of the story is you do need to spend some time alone in order to actually have some type of value for yourself and have some type of self-love and some type of appreciation, so you don't go back into another dysfunctional relationship as well.
Yourself the time to grow, not giving yourself time to heal, not giving yourself time to reflect is the major definition, the meaning of serial monogamous relationship. Again, so many individuals who have done this, again, if you knew who you were, like I was saying before I knew I would jump into one relationship to the next. But after spending so much time, I realized that it's gonna just cut it. Even if you come, like I said, you could look like, I don't know, you could fall from the sky. That is not gonna be enough. You know what I'm saying? Because the qualifications of and so forth, it's more easy for me to disqualify women now than it was once before. You was only, like I said, you qualified based on looks, but now it's a completely different situation. But anyhow, moving right along. Like I said, again, I was going to read the whole thing from the start. Again, the definition of a serial monogamous relationship is a pattern of having a series of exclusive committed partnerships, one after another, often with little time to no time spent single in between. While each relationship is monogamous, the individual moves from one partner to the next, frequently, potentially without the time to heal or reflect relationships. So again, if you're individuals, most of us have been like that. I've been like that. In fact, I'm sure every individual has done this at some point in their lives, and they could tell you that they was not ready. So that is the meaning of serial monogamous relationship. So we're going to look at some of the characteristics. And again, the root cause of this is, again, not knowing who you are. Because if you know who you are at the core, you would just not go into a relationship, because you would actually not need the relationship. And that's one of the benefits of knowing who you are, because now relationships become somewhat, it's almost better. You would come to a point maybe to actually be better to be single than to actually go into the wrong relationship. It will almost be better to be celibate and have and actually just be sleeping with the wrong individuals as well. But again, this is growth. This is, again, like the radio station, again, moving from frequency 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going up to 8, 9, 10. There's a different level of frequency that you're sending out. So you're only going to attract a certain level of men and women at this level. So a lot of the women and the men are going to actually disappear, because they're going to see something about you and they know that they cannot meet the standards. So they automatically are going to actually be disqualified. So let me move right along.
Just to say something very quick for what I just said, again, because I always didn't have this mentality. I was not always, this evolved in this particular area, because again, like I said, I accepted applications, based on looks, based on body, and that alone was good enough. But again, like I said, today, I would tell somebody I would rather somebody be alone and be happy alone rather than to enter this. No matter how long it takes, even if it takes you the rest of your life to be alone, I would rather promote that than to say you settle, or you settle to go in a relationship because you might feel lonely. And that's one thing. There's a difference between being lonely and the difference with being alone. If you feel lonely, or if you feel alone, that's the different from being lonely. So you could be alone and still be happy. But if you feel lonely, then you're not happy with yourself. You need to be happy all alone. So I'd rather you be single and be alone and be happy by yourself, versus be uh, in a relationship and still be lonely, not connected, disconnected from a person. I would rather you be celibate and not practice intimacy and work on yourself and work on yourself and be happy without intimacy, rather than have intimacy, be intimate with somebody that's actually taking away your happiness and your joy and your peace and your sanity as well. That is how serious it is. That is why I said evolving from level one, two, three, four, five to higher levels such as six, seven, eight, nine, 10.
Again, so the characteristics of this serial monogamous relationship, according to Google, it says sequential relationships. A serial monogamous is always in a committed monogamous relationship and moves from one relationship to the next shortly after a breakup. So again, so it's saying that you are in a monogamous relationship, you are loyal, you are faithful, you, however, you are always in a relationship. You're always moving from one relationship, always in a relationship. You never have had the time to actually be alone by yourself. And I know, like I said before, back in the day, because I've always went from one relationship to the next, one girl to the next, I've never really spent that much time alone myself until as later down the line, and I became more in tune to who I was, and I spent more time myself. And after a period of time, spending time yourself, believe it or not, most individuals who don't know what I'm talking about, there's something called solitude. And when you become to know who you are and you start to feel good about yourself, you may adapt the feeling of loving solitude. You might not even want to go back into a relationship, at least so quickly. You might start to actually cherish your time so much, you will realize that going into a relationship is going to actually take more from you than you are willing to give. And so, you know, it's just, that is why I really hate to say this. I'm going to say this, but however, that is why prostitution still exists today. Because some men, a lot of men who don't have the time, again, I'm not promoting prostitution, I'm just stating the fact that some men who do not have the time, they do not want to actually go through all of the problems and the situations that comes with a relationship, the communication, the commitment, and this and that. It's almost easier for a transactional situation to just pay somebody, go your way, I go my way, I do what I do, you do what you do. And I'm not saying, I'm not advocating this, I'm just trying to say relationships are work. You have to put in work with relation, because there has to be some psychological and emotional and balance between you and the individual, and there's always going to be some type of balance. You're going to always have to be psychologically, emotionally prepared to handle whatever arises. And when you are by yourself, that is not the case. So again, relationships require work. So that is why individuals, again, do not they have not spent the time alone. After a breakup, they go from one relationship to the next. They don't have the time to heal, and so forth and so forth again. And when you start to come in contact with solitude, you may love solitude so much again. Like I said, you know, every month you might say, oh, maybe I might get into a relationship next month. Or if someone comes, you know, if someone comes, and if they don't come, and you know what I'm saying, it's going to come to the point where you don't even care if someone comes or goes. You know what I'm saying? I'm really real talk. You know what I'm saying? I know this is a different level, but at least that's how it is for me. I should say whether someone comes in my life or not, I really don't care, because I'm happy all by myself. You understand me? They say you could do bad by yourself, but you could do good by yourself as well. You understand me? Love yourself to that degree, and you'll understand what I'm saying, but only then you will not be into a dysfunctional relationship. Because when you do feel that way about yourself, that's when individuals, healthy individuals, will come along and they will be attracted to you, because now you are not needy, you're not wanting, you're all good by yourself. So let me move on right now again. So again,
Make that clear it up a little bit too. Again, what's going to happen is when you guys do decide to go and take a break, you know, again, may be difficult for those who've not been single for long. But when you do take a break and you start to understand what solitude is, and you know, solitude is a good thing. Solitude is one of the best things that could ever happen in your life. You know, spend some time alone, come home from work, whatever it may be, do what you have to do, take care of responsibilities, go chill out, watch a movie, you know what I'm saying, do some little, watch a few videos here and there, whatever the case may, get something to eat, and that's chill out, man. What's going to happen is you're going to start to feel, it might feel somewhat a little uncomfortable in the very beginning, because you're going to maybe start to feel like, you know, what they call F, FOM, or fear of missing out, or whatever it's called, FUMO or something like that. So you might feel like, you know, you're missing out or something like that, you know. And even what's going to happen is, too, you might even start to, you know, cut back on some of your friends, you know, kind of going out as much, and, chilling out as much as you used to, maybe less partying. Because this time alone is going to actually transform you. This isolation is not just designed to get you to spend all your time alone away from relationships. This time is to isolate you per se from everything, for you to reflect at your life in general. Look at your goals, look at your ambitions, look at your dreams, look at your wants, look at your needs, look at your flaws, look at your strengths. This time in solitude is the time to reflect. You need to put a mirror in front of you and look at your life holistically, at the person that you truly are. So what's gonna happen is, the more time you spend alone, and the more time you reflect, and the more time you heal, and the more progress you make, you're gonna start to become so comfortable alone. You're gonna start to love yourself so much by yourself, as yourself. You're gonna start to say, man, you know what? These relationships are weak. You're gonna start to actually consider not even sacrificing the time, because you don't have anybody to call. You don't have to answer any phone. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you might don't have some certain things like, intimacy in that aspect. Yeah, but hey, if you already had enough intimacy for a long time, like me, I've had so much intimacy for 1,000 men. You understand? I mean, I could take a break. I could take a break. Now, if you were a guy and you didn't have that much women in your life, then hey, I understand. You were never in a position to take that kind of break. But at the same time, especially if you are a guy and you had, you know, astronomical numbers, and you racked up some body count numbers, and you did something like that, I could understand. You could take a break. It's okay. Take a break. You're not gonna die. You understand me? And so what's gonna happen is, like I said, you're gonna start to feel so good about yourself alone. You're gonna see, you're not sacrifice that for anyone, just and anyone who's just gonna come along. I don't care how that female look. You're not gonna just sacrifice that, because you're gonna realize how important your peace is. That's why there's a saying, peace is priceless. And so once you come to start to find peace alone, and you start to be happy alone, I think it's Rene Descartes, the philosopher was. He said, this fast is to spend time alone in a room alone. Most people can't spend time alone. Most people don't love being alone by themselves. That is why, if you can't be alone by yourself and happy by yourself, what makes you think you're gonna get in a relationship and be happy with somebody else? No, you're gonna bring that same unhappiness in a relationship, and then you're gonna think it's the person, but it technically is you. But again, like I said, once you start to love solitude, you start to love being alone, you start to love being happy, you're gonna not want to just easily sacrifice that, because you're gonna realize how much work relationships take. When the phone rings, you have to answer, and if you don't answer right away, you have to answer an X amount of time. You might not even want to talk. You might not feel the desire to talk, but you're gonna have to communicate at some point. Even if it's to say, "Hey, I don't feel like I want to talk," you still gonna have to talk. You might don't want to go anywhere. Eventually, you're gonna have to go out. You might not want to do certain things. You're gonna have to do it. You might not want to spend certain money. You're gonna have to do a lot of things in relationships that you don't necessarily want to do all, because you don't want to be by yourself. But when you get this down pack, and you feel good by yourself, and you feel good being alone, that is when you're going to find somebody who's going to be complete, and they're not going to put that amount of stress and that pressure on you, because they're not going to want to spend that much time with you anyhow. They're going to be just like you. That girl is not going to want to spend every moment with you unless until she becomes attached. She's not going to, because she has her own life, she has her own things going on. So you're going to find somebody just like you who's going to be comfortable. Hey, we're going to hang out just on once a weekend, on the weekend, or whatever the case may be. We're going to do something like that. Find somebody who's comfortable not being so dysfunctionally attached to you as well.
And another characteristic is the fear of being single. It says that a key driver is often a discomfort with being alone, leading to the immediate search for a new partner. Again, all of these things that I'm saying is based on not knowing who you are as an individual, not having the self-love, not having the self-worth, not having the self-pride. So again, I can't remember what psychologist it was who said this. I can't remember what it was, but it says, one of man's greatest fears is to be in a room alone. And that is what so the fear of being alone. Many individuals, be it male or female, we have a fear of being alone. And so therefore, individuals with this fear of being alone, we tend to go in relationships, not because we really love the person or want to be with the person, it's because we have a dysfunctional fear of being alone. And that is a dysfunction. So if you are an individual who go from one relationship to the next, and you jump out of one relationship to the next because you just don't want to be alone, that is also a negative characteristic of being a serial monogamous relationship type of person. So moving right along, so it says also uh, rapid commitment. Individuals in serial monogamy may fall into relationships quickly and might not want to heal from a previous one. So again, moving from one relationship to the next rapidly, quickly, swiftly, and you're still carrying the baggage. Like I said before, I too have dealt with many women who have come into relationship with me and they have not gotten over their previous relationship with the daddy or whatever the case may be, the guy who, the alpha male who pretty much shattered their mentality. You know, they come to me for some healing or so forth, but I knew psychologically that they was not really there, but I was not there as well because I was doing the same thing as well. I did not know any better. They did not know any better. So it was like the blind leading the blind. So again, if you're an individual who kind of just moves from one relationship rapidly without giving yourself time to heal, not giving yourself time to reflect, these are the characteristics, again, of not knowing who you are. So again, all of these videos, again, are based on knowing thyself. So moving right along, it says that the next characteristic is focus.
And as you see, like I said, I too was dysfunctional. I too did not know any better, so I can't just blame the people that I was with. I was dysfunctional enough to attract the people that I was with as well.
On the relationship. A new partner becomes the sole focus, and there is little time for personal growth or introspection. And that's what I'm saying again. So what happens is when you do not know yourself, when you get into these relationships, the individuals, and most individuals know what I'm talking about, especially men and women do this. This is not a man or woman thing. Some men, when they get involved in a relationship, they tend to just automatically, everything becomes all about the woman. And especially women tend to do it more so than men because men are, you know, somewhat, you know, men tend to like a variety more so than not. You know, if you had a choice to give you an understanding how much men like women, this is not a joke. This is literally the characteristics of a man. If you ask a man, or you ask any man, ask your boyfriend, ask any man on the street, if they had a choice to make 10 billion, let me tell you about $10 million, not even 10 billion, $10 million every year, $10 million every year, but that individual could pick one girl of his dream, any girl of his dream, and he could only pick one girl, but it cannot be based on her financial situation. She could be broke, she could be poor, whatever the case may be. He don't care, but she can't have any money. It does. She don't. But he could make $10 million a year. He could pick one girl, and he can love that girl. And he don't care. I mean, however she looks, she could be a 10 on a scale, whatever. One girl, and he can make $10 million a year. Ask that man if he could take that deal, or if he could make, say, $300,000 a year and have an unlimited amount of women at however beautiful, however, whatever, you know, legal age, you know, not money, no money involved. They don't have to bring anything to the table, but he just has the option to have a variety of women at any particular culture, any particular race, any particular creed. Think about what I'm saying. $10 million or $100 million, $100 million a year. I think I said $100 million. I'm not quite sure. $100 million or 10 million. I'm not quite sure which one I said. Let's stick with 10 million because I'm not quite sure what I said. So $10 million every year. $10 million every year, but he has the opportunity to pick one female, one girl from the world, any girl, any beauty. However, money is not going to be an option. He can't pick a girl with money, you know, like a princess or whatever that has the money. It could be any girl, but the girl must have some natural, could be beautiful. So ask that gentleman if he could pick $10 million, or he could make $300,000 a year and pick an unlimited amount of women from all cultures, all race, all beauties, and they don't have any money as well. And I guarantee you, most men will say that they will pick the $300,000 deal, and they would go for having the ability to pick as much women as they want, any beauty from any culture at any race, because so that should tell you itself, money is not even the motivation for men. Most men want women with some type of physical characteristic That is what men admire. Unlike women, women like physical things too as well, but men are really, really more so visual than not. So again, the average man, if you ask the average man this, they would say, hey, I would rather make $300,000 a year and be able to rotate any girl at any time that I please. So that is the case, what we're talking about there. Men having the ability to actually pick, choose, and refuse, and move on without any commitment per se. Most the average man will pick that option. So let me move it on. Let me move it on. So again, so far, and then so again. So if you're an individual, if you
And now that I think about this, if this question was flipped, if this was reversed, I'm not quite sure. I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak for females, but I think it would be a reverse answer. If you ask, if you ask a woman if she could pick one guy, sorry, have multiple guys, and get $300,000 of the deal, or pick one guy and get $10 million. I think it might be reversed. I think a woman would pick one guy and get the one guy that makes the $10 million, and ignore having all the guys and only getting $300,000. I think it was going to be reversed. The guys would pick the multiple women, and then uh, make less money but have more options. So hopefully that made any sense. I don't want to go too much into it right now, but hopefully that made any sense. I think the women would be on opposite results.
individual that kind of picks the relationship and makes the relationship the focal point. Again, men do it, women do it as well, but women tend to do it more so than others. They tend to lose themselves in the relationship, and they tend to, because again, men want variety, and they tend to be always be looking out. Women are looking out too, but men have more variety type of personality than women. Women might want one solid guy, and they might have their eyes open, one eye closed, one eye open, but most guys have both eyes open all the time, looking around. Even if they're just looking in the corner of their eye, they looking around. That's not me. That's the way men are. But anyhow, with that being said, so again, if you are an individual that loses yourself in a relationship and everything becomes about that relationship, and you do not care about your own growth, you do not care about your own identity, then you are actually in a serial relationship. See, you have a serial monogamous relationship type of identity. And that is, again, like I was saying, that is some of the women that I attract. Some of the women who I attract, they come to me in most cases looking for some type of guidance to get over these type of bad habits and these traits and these weaknesses that they have. They come to me in most cases trying to learn something so that they could become better individuals, stronger individuals, and they do not necessarily they want to be independent per se from some of these strongholds that they've had before, whatever it may be. And most likely, in most cases, it's a man. So, but anyhow, let me move right along again. So it says the potential of causes. The potential of causes is one, low self-worth. It says that a person may believe they are only worthy or complete when in a relationship. So again, I'm reading this from my phone now. This is my next phone. I'm reading this from my phone. So again, most of us, again, in general, be it male or female, we tend to attach our relationship, our identity to our relationships, how our partners look, the status of our partners, and so forth. Men might attach their identity to the way a woman looks physically. Women may attach their identity to the way a man, his status, his career, his job, and his look, his looks as well. However, women tend to, again, attach their identity more so to a status of men, more physical aspect. That is why you could see a man that may not be so attractive physically, but has a very, very, very attractive female wife or female girlfriend. And you could see this all throughout in the manosphere. You have movie stars, some elderly movie stars, and they have models. They have supermodels. I mean, look at Hugh Hefner and so forth and so on. I don't want to go rest in peace. I think he's dead now. Rest in peace, to one of the legendary greats. But however, we see this all the time. Men have a different value than women. Men tend to increase their value as they grow older. However, that may not necessarily be the case for many women. as women get older, they tend to not value as much as men, because that is one advantage that men has. I hate to really say it, but that is the truth. So again, as a man become older, he too may become more financially stable, because men tend to become more financially more stable later in life. Oh, you guys, look at the stingray's back. Oh, it's two. Wow, it's crazy. You see the guys? That's one. Man, these guys are famous now. Wow, this is crazy. Man, this guy, oh man, this guy, he bought it. See, oh, it's two or three. That's two. One there, one there. Man, what I should have done, I should have maximized the camera so you guys could have seen it a lot better. But anyhow, I think these guys are liking the camera, or they're liking the vibration or the frequency that I'm putting out. So either way, like I was saying again, if you are an individual that you tend to have low self-esteem, that's what I was saying again, not knowing your worth, not knowing who you are, is going to be an individual who is most likely to have serial monogamous relationship, moving from one relationship to the next, because of having a low self-esteem and only believing that they could find their worth in a relationship. That's what these individuals tend to do. But again, like I said, men find their identity when they find a young, attractive female. They tend to feel, somewhat, whatever. And then the woman tend to feel a certain way when she finds a man with status and success. We are looking for two different things. However, again, their status and success tend to come much later in life, because it takes men, in most cases, a much longer time to actually elevate themselves and to get rid of the things that they need to get rid of and keep the things that they need to keep. So, but anyhow, with that being said, I see the stingray is coming back. I don't know if it's coming back or not, but I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe I should zoom in. If he comes back any closer, I'm gonna zoom in. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna zoom in so you get a better look. So I'm getting sidetracked. These sea creatures are sidetracking me here. He's kind of under the water. He's over there right there. Anyhow, forget the zoom in type of thing. He looks like he's going in the opposite direction, maybe. But anyhow, like I was saying, that if you are an individual that you place all of your identity into a relationship and you lose yourself and you do not grow any further when you become involved in these relationships, you are also an individual that suffer from serial monogamy. So moving right along. So
and so we see this a lot. We see this happen all the time. Individuals tend to lose themselves in relationships, be it male or female. Females tend to do it more so than men. But however, what's going to happen when the relationship ends and you have all your identity in this relationship? And especially if the relationship ends badly, what do you think is going to happen to you?
Also, we have unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma, it says past experiences can lead to difficulties in communication and conflict resolution within a partnership. And that's what I was saying again. Some of these women that I got involved with who did not have communication skills. I am a good communicator. As you can see, I'm a talker. However, these individuals, they had problems expressing their pain, their hurt, their likes, their wants. They were emotionally closed off. Most of the individuals, these women that I spoke with, I couldn't really get them to emotionally express themselves on a much deeper level, because they had the fear of, again, not being able to express themselves with their father or whatever at a younger age. They took that into their relationship later in life, and they too was unable to express themselves with the man that they were with and communicate properly and effectively. So they were emotionally stagnant. There was a lot of emotional stagnation in these relationships, and there was a lot of trauma and unresolved trauma experiences that they did not resolve, and they came into the relationship with those problems as well. And that is what you will do as well if you move from one relationship to the next without actually resolving those traumas as well. So let's move on again, because there's still quite a bit to go, and I don't want to. This video is getting quite a bit long already. So unresolved trauma. So another thing is perfectionism. Perfection, being a perfectionist, is, so it says, an expectation of a perfect relationship can lead to leaving at the first sign of trouble. Again, because you're not knowing who you are, not understanding who you are as a person, you have a perfectionist perspective, and when soon as something goes wrong, you tend to run away or you tend to leave. And so that is what happens also, again, because of not knowing who you are, understanding that individuals are not perfect, and because you don't know who you are at the core, you tend to place all of your emotions and your feelings on to the individual's false identity. And when you put all of your eggs in this basket on the false identity, you are almost guaranteed you're going to be let down by this individual, because this individual is not perfect. And because of your lack of understanding that this individual is not perfect, you are going to be let down much more sooner than later. And then you're going to be disappointed, and then you're going to feel like, wow, why did I, get involved with this person? And then you're going to be easy to run, like the runaway bride, the movie. And so when problems or complication comes about, you are most likely to run away sooner than later. And so that's what I'm saying to you as well. Being a perfectionist, expecting someone to be perfect, and nobody is perfect except the true self, the core self, the pure self. And that's why you guys should go ahead and watch my video, What is Love? Because that talks a lot about what it is to be loved and how to love somebody and so forth as well. So let me move it on along. So again, these...
And I just want to, add to that as well, because that perfectionist thing is a very serious thing. Most of us don't really understand that all of us are flawed. Nobody's perfect, no matter who you are. Everybody has something shortcoming. I don't care who you are. The Barbie doll has some type of flaw. The supermodels have types of insecurities. No one is perfect, but however, if you are a perfectionist, you could get involved in a relationship, and things might be. That's why they have that 80-20 rule. You could leave the 20, so you could leave the 80% because of something, the 20% that may be missing. And because if you are a person that's a perfectionist, you could really leave somebody that's a really good match for you or a good person for you, but because they fall short in some way, shape, or form, and then you feel like, hey, you could do better, and then you go move on and think, on the other side, and then you are misled and you are disappointed once again, and then now you just have to go from relationship to relationship, believing that one day you're gonna find this perfect person, and that perfect person never ever arrives at all. So please try to avoid that mistake, thinking that one day you're gonna find the or the Mr. Right, and that's gonna actually work out in your favor. But it's because it's gonna never ever work out to where someone is gonna be perfect. It's just gonna be how much you're willing to tolerate. That is all it is. Can I tolerate this? Can I live with this? Or can I not? That is it.
This individual, when something goes wrong, they tend to leave because, again, not knowing who they are. And again, all of these characteristics are just solidifying what I have been preaching from the day one, or teaching from day one, that knowing yourself is the only solution to all of your problems. Because when you truly know yourself, and only then and then, and only then and then, you can actually come to some closure and heal and find solitude and solace within yourself, by yourself, as your true self. So again, the next thing it says is self-sabotage. Some people may find stability uncomfortable and may leave a good relationship to seek out drama or volatility. So that is what I'm talking about. Again, individuals may be so damaged, or they may be so mentally unstable and used to drama and trauma, they will actually self-sabotage a good relationship. And I'm sure many men and women have wondered why. They've done their very best. They've did everything that they could think of on a positive level in the relationship, and the person still left, and the person always created some type of drama, and they did this and they did that because these individuals don't know anything else, not knowing who they are. I'm sure many individuals have experienced this before. Someone just doing the best, and these individuals, this is not enough. You are not good enough, and these individuals sabotage relationship because they just do not know who they are as well. So moving right along, it says the potential implications. We're almost done now. We're almost done. Again, very long video. I really appreciate everyone for sticking around this long, who've stuck around this long. Again, I just wanted to go into much greater detail to get you guys to understand all of these characteristics you're going to attract. If you have these characteristics yourself, you're going to attract individuals like this. Again, so the video title was You Attract Who You Are. You do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. So I'm giving you guys an understanding of if you are any of these characteristics, these are going to be the individuals that you are actually going to attract as well. So almost to a close now, it says the potential implications. It says lack of personal growth without time.
Before I start with the implications, like I was saying, so that was another very powerful self-sabotage. That is why you could be in a relationship, and there are some individuals are so traumatized and they're so used to drama and trauma, they would create obstacles, they would create problems. If things are going too good, they can't function. And that is another example of someone that you should try to stay far away from, because some individuals are just, they don't know how to handle a good thing. They, again, that came from lack of self-love, self-worth, lack of self-esteem, not believing that they are worthy. And so if that person doesn't feel like they are worthy, that person doesn't believe that they are good enough, what makes you think that you're going to be good enough and worthy for that person as well? You are not.
Time to be single, individuals may not develop a strong sense of self or the skills needed for a healthy long-term relationship. So again, listen to all of my videos. All of my videos are preaching this one lack of personal growth, knowing thyself, who you are, not developing a strong sense of self, not developing a strong sense of identity. That is what I'm talking about. Not having a self identity, knowing who you are. Again, individuals may not develop a strong sense of self or the skills needed for a healthy long-term relationship. So again, without knowing yourself, again, it is impossible for you to go into a healthy relationship because you do not know who you are. You do not have the skills to actually communicate. You do not have the skills to reflect. You do not have the skills to heal. You do not have any skills because you do not know who you are. And so when you go into these relationships, again, from a serial monogamy perspective, you do not give yourself enough time to even grow, to know who you are, so you can be able to sustain a long-term relationship. So the last one on this list, again, is basically talking about the potential implications of not knowing who you are, is having difficulty with commitment. It says that the cycle can make it difficult to learn how to navigate challenges within a single partnership, leading to a fear of long-term commitment in general. So these individuals, again, because they have not been in any long-term relationship, any committed relationship, they have commitment issues as well. Because again, they have all these problems because of not knowing who they are. They cannot stay in a relationship long enough because of having fear of commitment, thinking that having the fear is going to stop them from actually developing a committed relationship. So again, if you have any of these characteristics, any 1, 2, 3, 4, the more of these characteristics, 5, 6 you have, the more of a serial monogamous relationship individual you are.
So that last factor was very, very important to also not overlook. There are some individuals who have commitment problems, commitment issues, because for one reason or another, maybe they got hurt from somebody back in the day. Maybe they even saw their parents got divorced or something maybe negative happened to them throughout their life in a relationship. Something very, very dysfunctional happened, and now those individuals have a problem committing to others as well. So those individuals with commitment issues, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are, those individuals are always going to find a reason not to commit because it definitely is not you. It is literally them. That is why when some individuals say it is not you, it's me, sometimes it is you, and sometimes they're really trying to just soften the blow by taking the rap, but at times it literally is that person.
So, but however, if you have even one of these characteristics, I highly suggest that you look at yourself, take some time, take a break, wonder again. You would, so you don't have to ask yourself why I'm always entering these bad relationships, why I'm always entering relationships where someone is hurting my feelings, why I'm always entering these relationships where I end up broken and I end up more worse off than I came into relationship. Why, when I enter these relationships, I am not growing? Why, when I enter these relationships, I am not healing? Why, when I enter these relationships, I lose myself? And that is what this whole video is all about, coming to understand who you are. This is a very long video again, most likely my longest, I'm not quite sure because I made a few long videos, but I really, 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 really appreciate you guys for sticking around this long because all my videos are very important. However, I think this video itself is a very, very important video. I'm not saying more important than any other video. However, even if you watch this one video and you don't watch anything else, this video is going to help you at least understand why you are attracting the people that you are attracting. And this does not necessarily only apply to relationships. You are attracting friends that have these same problems. Friends might walk away from you because they don't have any commitment. They have issues with commitments. You might have friends that will leave the friendship because they cannot communicate effectively. When there's some discrepancy, they don't know how to express their emotions to you and let you know maybe what you did wrong or whatever the case may be. Friends, it could be family members. It does not necessarily, these things doesn't necessarily only apply to relationships. These also apply to all individuals because all individuals have some type of relationship communication style. However, this information I'm talking about is about attracting individuals in our lives, mainly from a relational perspective. But however, if you have any of these problems, it can also your platonic, your friendship relationships negatively as well. So I think I'm going to end on this video because I've been on this video for some time now. But as usual, I want to say,
And so that's another factor before I think we should look at too as well. Again, we attract who we are, not what we want. So therefore, despite the fact that I spent a lot of time talking about attracting relationships, intimate relationships, partners, lovers, and things of the sort, what we fail to realize is that we will also attract the friends. The people in our lives will also be dysfunctional. Our friends will be dysfunctional. Our friends, the same, all of those characteristics that I spoke about as a serial monogamous relationship type of person. Our friends will have communication problems, cannot communicate to us when there's a problem. They will have issues when something goes wrong. They are not going to be honest. They can't tell you the truth. They're going to be friends that are going to be able to walk away because they can't commit because you have commitment issues. They're going to be friends that's going to come along and they're going to come along with trauma and drama from their old previous relationships, and they're not going to trust you. They're always going to be skeptical of you, and those friends are going to come along with all of these characteristics that I talked about, not just relationships. You're going to meet strangers that's going to come along. Your boss is going to have all of these issues. You're going to have family members are going to come in your life who are going to have these characteristics. So again, we're not talking about only attracting relationships from an intimate perspective. We're going to talk about attracting platonic relationships. Friends, strangers are going to come along that's not going to trust you. Strangers are going to come along are not going to commit to the relationship. Strangers are going to come along who are going to sabotage the relationship as well. So this is why it's very important that we try to fix this problem, because we're not only going to attract the people that we want to be in an intimate relationship with, we're going to attract everyone on this same level as well.
I thank each and every one of you for sticking around as long. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. I really do appreciate the time, the effort. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you are, please, 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 please discontinue, stop believing in illusions, delusions, and hallucinations. Triple P, and I'm out. Oh.
So yes, that was another very, 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 very powerful video. I cannot stress the importance enough on that you guys take into great consideration. Spend some time alone, in solitude, isolation for a little time. Spend some time building your self-love, self-worth, self-care. Just build yourself, build yourself. But again, if you guys notice the theme, all of my videos are surrounded, the subject matter is knowing thyself. Because if you do not know yourself, you're definitely going to not be able to know others. And if you don't know yourself, you're going to think that someone is going to be able to come along and help you to find yourself, but you're going to be so wrong. So with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you again, once again, for sticking around, watching the stream. It has been a very, very long stream, I will say, but I thank each and every one of you guys for whatever platform you may be on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as usual, as I usually say, please, please, please discontinue. Stop believing in illusions, delusions, and hallucinations. Triple P, and I'm out.